The engine's purr was the only comfort as I navigated the desolate ribbon of asphalt that cut through the heart of nowhere. The dashboard clock read 2:37 a.m., and the world outside was cloaked in velvety darkness. The radio emitted nothing but static, lending an eerie silence to the journey. My knuckles whitened as they gripped the steering wheel, the rhythmic thumping of my heart the only other sound I could hear. Loneliness seeped into my bones as the miles stretched on, punctuated only by the occasional flicker of a street lamp or the fleeting glimpse of a road sign. The sparse trees along the roadside cast gnarled shadows that seemed to stretch out, as if longing to drag me into their depths. The darkness held secrets, and I was an unwilling traveler on this highway of uncertainty. My headlights cut through the inkiness, revealing fleeting glimpses of the world beyond. The road seemed to wind endlessly, a serpentine path leading to destinations unknown. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unseen eyes peered from the darkness, their intent inscrutable. Goosebumps prickled my skin, and I shook my head, chiding myself for allowing paranoia to creep in. But then, just as quickly as I dismissed it, a figure appeared on the edge of my vision. My heart skipped a beat, and my foot instinctively eased off the gas. A shape materialized, shrouded in tattered fabric that fluttered in the night breeze. As my headlights played over it, I caught a glimpse of pale, haggard features that held a timeless sadness. A phantom hitchhiker, thumb outstretched, its gaze locked onto mine. The rational part of my mind screamed to keep driving, to ignore the specter and never look back. But a strange compulsion gripped me, like a puppeteer tugging at my strings. The car slowed to a crawl, and I found myself rolling down the window, against every instinct for self-preservation. "Need a ride?" My voice trembled, carrying in the still night air. The figure's lips curved into a semblance of a smile, but its eyes remained pools of sorrow. A voice, distant yet close, whispered in my ear, chilling me to the bone. "Oh, traveler, I've been waiting." Without conscious thought, the door creaked open, as if beckoning the entity inside. It slid into the seat beside me, its presence a chill that crept through the car. The scent of decay wafted from it, mingling with the stale air of the cabin. "Where are you headed?" I asked, though a sinking feeling told me the answer before the words left my lips. The figure turned to me, its eyes holding mine. "To the end of this road, and beyond." My pulse quickened as the miles unspooled, each one feeling heavier than the last. The spectral passenger remained silent, its gaze fixed ahead, as if it saw something beyond the veil of reality. An otherworldly tension filled the air, a feeling that we were nearing a precipice, a point of no return. The road seemed to narrow, the forest encroaching on either side. The trees stretched their limbs like grasping hands, and the wind carried a whisper, a cacophony of voices too faint to understand yet too insistent to ignore. Panic clawed at my chest, and I fought to keep my focus on the road ahead. And then, as abruptly as it had begun, the road ended. The asphalt crumbled into nothingness, the car teetering on the edge of a gaping abyss. The figure beside me turned, its eyes wells of melancholy. "Thank you for the journey, traveler. You've fulfilled your purpose." With a final glance, it stepped out of the car and into the void. My heart raced, my mind a whirlwind of confusion and terror. Adrenaline surged as I slammed the car into reverse, the engine roaring to life. The wheels spun, and the car shot backward just as the ground collapsed, swallowing the space where I had stood moments before. As I sped away from that cursed place, the echo of the figure's voice lingered in my mind, a haunting refrain. To the end of this road, and beyond. The road stretched on, the night still holding its secrets, but I knew one thing for certain. I had narrowly escaped a fate darker than the abyss itself. And as the miles melted away, I couldn't shake the feeling that those forsaken woods would forever bear witness to the night when a spectral passenger almost led me into the heart of the unknown.
As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows across Route 66, the rhythmic hum of Jack's 18-wheeler echoed through the open expanse of the desert. The road stretched like a ribbon of faded memories, a thread connecting the past to the present. Jack had driven this route countless times, its nostalgia mingling with the sense of isolation that seemed to permeate the air. Only 150 miles remained until Tulsa, a familiar destination, yet tonight was different. Tonight, the tales he'd heard about the ones that stopped surfaced in his mind. The truckers' camaraderie buzzed with anecdotes of abandoned vehicles and an uncanny silence that clung to that stretch of road. Even the cops avoided it, a fact that had always seemed more folklore than fact. Jack chuckled at the absurdity of it all, shaking his head. Who would believe such a superstitious story? Nevertheless, a sense of unease flickered in his gut, a nagging thought that danced between skepticism and trepidation. He glanced at the dashboard clock, 11:23 p.m. It would be a long, quiet night. As he drove on, the desert's embrace grew more profound, swallowing the world in an inky darkness. The highway, once a lifeline connecting towns, now seemed to cut through the very heart of solitude. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by the monotonous rhythm of his engine. Then, as the miles passed like whispers in the wind, he began to see them, abandoned vehicles, as if they had slipped into slumber on the roadside. Trucks, cars, even an old motorcycle. Their empty shells littered the edge of the asphalt, their drivers nowhere to be found. Jack's heart quickened, the hair on his arms stood on end. He pushed the uneasy feeling aside, focusing on the road ahead. But then, a shape caught his attention, a figure by the side of the road. A woman, dressed in a way that both revealed and concealed. Her silhouette was captivating, her posture alluring. Jack's grip on the wheel tightened as he approached, the weight of curiosity urging him to slow down. He pulled over, his truck's headlights casting an eerie glow over the scene. The woman's form was bathed in the soft radiance, her presence ethereal in the desert night. Jack opened the door, the dry air rushing in, carrying whispers of ancient secrets. "Need a ride?" His voice carried a hesitant invitation into the void. The woman turned to him, and even in the dim light, he could feel her gaze like a physical touch. "Thank you," her voice a melodious whisper, carrying a hint of something both familiar and unsettling. She climbed into the cabin, her movements graceful, like a dancer. The interior was plunged into shadows, but the glint of her eyes was unmistakable. They held a mesmerizing quality, drawing him into their depths. "Name's Jack," he offered, his voice breaking the silence. No reply came, but he didn't mind. The road stretched before them, a tapestry of darkness and possibility. As they journeyed together, the night seemed to grow denser, the air heavy with an electric tension. The conversation flowed, their words weaving between the mundane and the enigmatic. Yet, despite the intimacy of their words, her face remained shrouded in shadow, leaving him both captivated and unnerved. In the intimate darkness, the woman produced a cigarette from her purse. The realization struck Jack, the perfect opportunity to show his chivalry. His trusty Zippo gleamed in his hand as he offered the flame, illuminating her face. Time seemed to slow as the light touched her features, revealing a visage that defied description. He recoiled, his heart racing as his mind struggled to process the horrific sight before him, a horse's face, grotesque and decayed, with wriggling maggots replacing her once lustrous hair. A guttural scream erupted from the abomination before him, a sound that was more primal horror than anything human. Her form lunged, and his world turned into a nightmare of gnashing teeth and blood-soaked terror. The truck swerved, careening off the road as he fought for control against the onslaught of this monstrous entity. The world outside was a whirlwind of chaos and pain, and the rhythmic thud of his heart mixed with the desperate cries that echoed through the cabin. In those final moments, the twisted creature seemed to dissipate into the night, leaving only the memory of that ghastly visage burned into Jack's mind. The truck rumbled to a halt, the smell of scorched rubber mingling with the acrid tang of fear. As dawn's faint light pierced the horizon, Jack was left alone in the aftermath of his encounter. The empty desert stared back, a silent witness to his harrowing experience. The road stretched before him, a pathway lined with the specters of the past and the echoes of his own disbelief. The legend of the ones that stopped had become his reality, a tale etched into his memory with the same intensity as the creature's terrifying face. And as he continued his journey, the miles between him and Tulsa seemed to stretch impossibly far, the road ahead forever haunted by the horrors of that fateful night. Yet Jack never realized that him and his truck were just ghosts now moving along the road like a cloud disappearing slowly.